Hello, Santo.
I would like to smell, but
Are you familiar with it?
what is that?
Hello, Santo.
No, I don't.
It's basically, I believe it's from the frankincense tree, but it's
Oh yeah, that's good.
yeah, it's kind of like sage, except for the nice thing about this is that not only does it clear the space, it also fills the space with intention.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of burning some of that to just kind of clear the space.
That's a good thing.
And we're gonna get this kicked off over on Facebook if you're ready to go there as well.
Yes.
I've sent out an email to everybody that's on my list, and then I've posted it as a blog as well. So I feel like I've done my due diligence to put this out there to get it as far afield as possible, to say that today is the day when we are reading The Human Aura by Kuthumi for chapters 5 and 6. Francoise and I, Laura J, yours truly, we are basically wanting to really share the 4 pillars of the teachings of the Ascended Masters to really give people foundational concepts to build your spiritual practice with. And so the human aura is a study of energy. And so when you better understand yourself on a multidimensional level, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, then you can really have a more holistic and balanced perspective. And Francoise, you've been teaching of the Ascended Masters for many years. And
Years,
this
yeah.
is not, as for how many?
It is for many years.
Yes. Okay. And so, what is the biggest thing you've taken from the human aura in the previous times when you've read this book, if you don't mind?
I would say the first thing was that I understood that there is a part of me. I have some. I can play a part in making the right choices, because if I know what my aura, where my aura is coming from, and it's related to all, I would say, my inner being and my consciousness, it's the level of consciousness, then working on my aura, the aura is like you are emitting something from your inner self. And if you know yourself, then you will be able to make rightful choices if you want to emit more light, more energy. So you have to be more conscious of what you do, what you think, what you are saying, because all this is being seen and is being emitted in your aura. So it brought me to be more conscious that my little self, my human self, is a sum of everything that I say and do and think. So I can make choices to be like a bulb of 100 watt, or maybe just a 25 watts. That was because I felt it was very concrete. So
I love that you mentioned about the bulb, because there's a really great teaching around that when you actually break down a lamp. And it's like you've got the bulb itself, you've got the shade around the bulb, you've got the whole base and the fixture attached to it, you've got the cord or the connectable audio or whatever is making it so that it tells it to connect the dots and light up. Those are all elements to the lamp. And what we think so oftentimes is that the lamp itself is responsible for the light. but it's actually what that lamp is plugged into that gives the lamp its beauty. What would you have to say
Yeah.
about that?
Well, we can bring that to the what I said about what I learned about the book at first, that I have the choice to be a lamp. And if I'm connected with my source, then if I know how to connect with my source, if I can learn that and remember and be conscious of my source, then I will be a light that is more with more, there will be more light coming out of me. So it's like the object that we call a lamp or the bulb, we need to be connected with the source.
Yeah.
Source of life, source of love, source of wisdom, source of truth.
So one time I had heard the analogy of narcissism and that whole culture of Luciferian false light or false connection, vampirism. And I saw it, or I heard it as the analogy of having like an umbrella over top of your energy field almost, if you are in the program of the narcissistic personality or persona, that whole mask that people wear and then begin to believe is them. And I just think it's very interesting, or wanted to just bring that analogy or imagery in and ask if you had any perspective on whether that is like the shading over top, the energy veil, evil over top of that connection between who we truly are. And then getting back to the lamp analogy, it's just like whether that lamp has a, megawatt bulb on it or a really dull lamp bulb, it doesn't mean that the amount of energy coming to it is any different. It's just that that bulb is not expressing that which is flowing to it as well as what it could, maybe should, or would if it knew how to do it better, which is really what today's study is all about. So, did you want to speak into that at all?
I just the intensification of the aura. Tonight you're going to read the fifth chapter, and in that chapter we learn that we live in an envelope of flesh and blood that is penetrated by our consciousness. That's why I said about the consciousness at the beginning, because consciousness in ourselves is our connection with our source of life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you will read. And so we can understand, and we must understand, that the effects of our consciousness affect our aura. Our consciousness is our thought, our words, our thinking, our doing. So our aura is is like a broadcasting station for God's energy and His cosmic rays. So that is, for me, I would say, the resume of this fifth chapter on the intensification of the aura. So sometimes we are 100 watts bulb, but there's so many things upon us and inside of us that is impeding the full enlightenment of the full expression of this electricity and its light.
Oh, Francoise, I'm so grateful that you have been joining me each week over the last couple to get to this point of being able to dig in deeper to the fifth and sixth chapters this evening. So without any further ado, though all the conversation is incredibly valuable and appreciated, questions are welcome, which is why we are sharing this live to Facebook, and then we'll post to YouTube after the fact too. We'd love to know what questions you have, which is why this is a pilot study. So we're really reading this through. I am looking to have another clean read of the human aura so that the editing is easier for me now that I've gotten better at that. I can now improve the original, which is the reading that we're going to do now. So I just share that because everything is a work in progress. You don't have to have it all done all at once. You just have to say, enough is as good as a feast. An elephant is eaten one bite at a time. A mountain is climbed one step at a time. A journey is walked one step at a time. Each of us just must decide to stand. And may that be the first step that each of us take, to just decide to do something new, which is what you are doing right now if you are choosing to join in with us. So 4pillars.higherconsciousness.ca is the website where you can gain access to all 4 pillars, which actually are covered in 2 books. The second book of which is Saint Germain on Alchemy, Formulas for Self-Transformation. And the first 2 books of which are right here beside me, and which we will now go down to the 5th and 6th chapter to. There are 12 in total, so we are going to be halfway through by the end of this evening. Francoise, is there anything you wanted to say before I dig in?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cheers. As my mug says, love is a fruit in season at all times. Mm. Ah, delicious. Black coffee. What do you drink? What's your beverage of choice, Francoise?
I would say most of the time it's apple juice.
Apple juice.
Apple juice.
Oh, I love it. Do you prefer apple juice or apple cider?
Apple juice.
Yes.
Yep.
I think I would verge on the cider territory. I'm not an alcoholic though. I'm not one for beers. I've never liked the tingle on the back of my throat, but may you find what you are looking to drink here. Also, Francoise, did you happen to bring the pearls of light or the pearl calls for this chapter that you wanted to be able to pull up and you could share to the screen at the end of this chapter so that we can seal in all of the energy that is transmitted as I go through the reading?
Um,
Or could you find it while we're doing this?
let me try that.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you. And so the human aura, the intensification of the aura. Man thinks of himself as solid. He lives within an envelope of flesh and blood that is penetrated by his consciousness. Consciousness must be regarded as man's connection with his source and its flexibility as man's greatest asset. Yet when wrongly used, it is his greatest weakness. The consciousness of humanity today is so easily influenced by banal and barbaric doings that the magnificent cosmic purpose heaven has prepared in the creation of man is seldom recognized, even minutely. Man so easily becomes involved in the trivial manifestations of the footstool kingdom. And his indoctrinations, being what they are, make him believe that the divine purposes and the doings of the ascended masters would not be to his liking. The singing of devotional songs, the chanting of holy mantras, the engaging of the mind in spiritual conversation and prayer to the Almighty are regarded today by the sophisticates as milksop endeavor, which could not possibly produce any good for them, but is reserved only for the weak-minded. May I challenge this concept in toto and say that the greatest strength, the noblest ideal, and truest valor is to be found in the aspirant, who ultimately achieves first his adeptship in his fulfillment of the divine plan, and then his eventual mastership in the ascension. Men erroneously think that only Jesus and a few other notable figures from the biblical centrum have ascended. How they would change their minds if they could see the cloud of witnesses above them in the heavens. It is time that men understood the effects of their consciousness and their thoughts upon the human aura. I would go so far as to say that even their opinions have a strong influence upon them for good or for ill. I suspect that many have decided that I do not intend to discuss the negative aspects of the human aura. Perhaps they are right. We shall see. I am interested in stressing how that grandiose aura of the Christed One, surging with light, radiates out a divine quality in its very emanation that carries healing, nobility, honor, and cosmic strength to all who come in contact therewith. This aura of which I speak is not, and never can be, the product either of man's environment or of his social involvements. It is produced by divine doings, by entering into the cosmic consciousness of God through involvement with universal purpose, and especially by contact with our brotherhood. There is still so much vanity, however, in the whole business of God seeking. There are times when we would gladly chasten men because of our great love for them, if doing so would stimulate a greater involvement in the only and true purpose behind the manifestation of their lives. Remember, the light shines in the darkness, and whereas the darkness comprehends it not, those who do not begin to open their understanding because this is their desire will find an absolute intensification of the light taking place within themselves. Hence, a great deal more spirituality is involved in the God flame within the heart of each individual than he at first realizes. In this very flame, man has a catalyst posited right within himself, a spark plug that can motivate him to make such attunement with his presence, whereby the magnificent influences of our brotherhood can shine through his aura and he can become the outpost of heaven upon earth. Whoever said and who dares to say that any one person has the exclusive possession of this quality when it is the divine plan for all to radiate the one light? Just as man and all things were made by one spirit, so the one spirit expects all to enter in at the door. The door of the Christ consciousness literally trembles with anticipation of the moment when the individual will joyously enter into the sheepfold of his own reality. Probably some of you may wonder just what I am driving at and why. When I have offered to you studies on the human aura, I seem to be going around Robin Hood's barn. I can understand that, and I feel that now is the time for me to tell you that by this method, I am seeking to develop a special quality in all of our students. That quality, which is of the Christ, will enable you to develop the kind of an aura that I will call self-proving, because it can be consciously intensified to do the most good. In effect, man's aura is literally a broadcasting station for God's energy and his cosmic rays. Energies of light and the very thoughts of God himself and of the ascended masters combine with the benign thoughts that emerge from the very life plan of the individual and are then beamed or broadcast in all directions into the world of form. Those who are sensitive and can attune with these waves may perceive their nature and their origin, while those who do not understand cosmic law may become beneficiaries of these wondrous energies without ever knowing their source. It makes little difference. We are concerned with overcoming the preponderance of human darkness that is abroad in the world today by literally flooding forth more light through the auras of many souls who shall dedicate their lives as outposts of cosmic regeneration to the planet. Christ said, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness. When we speak of the light of the world, we speak of the light of the aura, and we are talking about a tangible manifestation. It is difficult for me to restrain myself when I hear the thoughts of individuals who carelessly read my words and then say, what a nebulous concept he brings forth. Contrary to their opinions, my concepts are incisive and they are given with a very definite purpose in mind and directly in accord with the one law of God. I say this because I am talking about permanent manifestations of universal grace. And withal, I am trying to impress upon your minds the great fact that the law of God, the law of his love, is very much involved with the human aura. What is the human aura if it is not an extension into the world of form, into the universal web of the sum total of what the individual really is? Well, then, if a man manifests a whimsical attitude, working his own or another's will without discrimination, sometimes good, sometimes bad, or indifferent, can this be compared with the one who is literally harnessed to the divine dynamo and whose aura can be seen by those who truly see as beginning to vibrate with the universal purpose? Not only do I know that these states of consciousness cannot be compared, but I know that one day, in the changing consciousness of humanity, the former will cease to be altogether, for God will win. Of this I am certain. And those who follow the way of darkness because of the consuming of the thread of their own identity will ultimately be extinguished altogether by the very fires of creation. For God is the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer, and we have seen him in these and many guises. In heaven's name, from whence cometh energy? What is it that beats your heart? A wish obviously not your own, or it would not so suddenly terminate. Instead, the will of God, the desire of God, beats your heart. Men's lives would not be paltry then if they also let him determine their consciousness and their thoughts. Now that we have created a certain measure of understanding in many of our students about the factors that influence the human aura, we shall begin to show in greater detail the processes involved in broadcasting the qualities of the Christ, so that great good can flow from your being out into the world in these troubled times and create in the brilliance of the sunshine a new awareness that fulfills the destiny of the children of men under the cosmic teachers for this age. Extending my love to each of you, I hold the chalice of holy wisdom to be of special value in creating a new future out of which shall be born a greater summoning of understanding and its use. For knowledge must be correctly used and appropriated by transcendent magnificence rather than consumed on a few short years of sense pleasures without purpose. The brotherhood beckons to the many can respond. If only the few do, I am certain we shall take delight in opening the curtain for them upon a new era of possibility. Let the weaving of regeneration begin anew the spinning of the tapestry of heaven's deepening involvement in the raising of humanity into the folds of the brotherhood, into the delight of revealed purpose. I remain firmly established in that purpose. Did you have the recipe as well for this?
Yes, I did. I did about the 6-1. It's so wonderful. It starts with an exercise of breathing. It's breathing, and at the same time, it's reciting a beautiful prayer that the Master Kuthumi have created for the strengthening of our aura. And so one is the most precious advice that one of the first advice that I could try, I tried to continue with that, is that to not let our attention rest upon one supposed imperfection. And this is so precious. Let not our attention rest upon our supposed imperfection. So with this exercise and the reading of this beautiful decree or call, whatever you want to call that, it's really bring to us a kind of inner peace, very strongly felt after reciting this. So I think I will let you read that because this is the most precious.
I have a question before we do this. And others have asked me what a decree is, and I would be curious if you would be able to share your definition.
Okay. Sometimes we can pray. The prayer comes from the heart. We can pray silently. We can formulate our prayer out loud. There's some fiat. I am the light. I am the light. This is a fiat. It's something that comes from it's like using our willpower
Mhm.
to affirm something, and affirming with the name of God, that is I am. I am is the name of God. Most of the time, unconsciously, we say, well, I'm tired, I'm fine. So we are using, in fact, the name of God. And whenever we use the name of God, I am, that is always in capital letters, then what comes after that becomes the law of our being. So let's see what we have here is Kuthumi said, I am light, glowing light. So we are saying God in me is light. God in me is a glowing light. So when we affirm that, it's just like we are talking to each of our cells and atoms of our being, physical, emotional, mental, etheric bodies, these four envelopes that are forming our body and our mind. Then when we say that, we are transforming the matter that that we can see. Our body is the matter, but the body is just one of the four envelopes of the soul. So when we use the I am, we are using the power of God in our life. So that's why this little exercise that the master Kuthumi is offering us is very powerful. I learned that by heart. Whenever I feel a little bit depressed or whatever, I'm a bit worried about something, wherever I am in a bus, in a metro, on a street, and there's a lot of things going around, sometimes I cannot say it out loud. I say it in silently, but very strongly. And I just feel that I'm wearing suddenly a coat of light that is enveloping me, and I can see that I can be more centered and not being so, I would say, afflicted by what is going on outside. So let's do that for the people.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So we're gonna read that through. And then what we could even do, actually, just so that it's in the recording too, is that when we do it, we're gonna do it 3 times.
Yes,
So,
that's good. Yeah, that's a good idea. Mhm.
and what's the significance of 3, Francoise?
The significance of three? Well, three is the power of, I would say, the threefold flame in our heart, because the three is the beginning of something that is being multiplied and become exponential. So the three, let's start by the threefold flame in our heart. So it's the power of God, it's the love of God, and the wisdom of God. So that's why we repeat it by 3 decrees or whatever, call or fiat.
Perfect. Much more thorough than what I could say. And I do want to also just add in, because when you were talking about the 4 envelopes, I hadn't actually visualized each of the 4 lower bodies as an envelope for the soul. So that visual is really clear and fun to just imagine different sized envelopes all fitting in together like the Russian dolls.
Yeah, it's almost that. Mhm.
So that was the first time that I had ever had that mental association of the Russian dolls with envelopes and the 4 lower bodies. So thank you for bringing that into my awareness. And while you were also sharing that, I was thinking about last year. I had saw a video of an Australian music teacher who had actually created a little diddle that is super cute and catchy, but it's literally the positive programming for the body. And so I just felt inclined to share that if anybody's interested. And it's every little cell in my body is happy, every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy, every little cell in my body is well. I'm so happy, every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so happy. Every little cell in my body is happy and well. Woo! So I didn't even realize that there was so much more to the song until I was singing it. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's the whole song. So that's kind of like that automatic subconscious accessing, retrieving information from the ultimate storage filing cabinet that is us, the ultimate supercomputer, ultimately. And then the field is the super consciousness that we all have access to and must learn to access responsibly so as to not accrue karma by triggering something that wasn't meant to drop yet, which we can do if we are irresponsible with accessing the field of the Akashic records. So not sure if you want to mention anything about that, Francois, since it's completely off course, or maybe it's not. But
I think it would bring us a little bit outside of the stranding of the aura, but maybe another time there would be an occasion to bring that.
Yeah, definitely we can have a conversation. And I'd like to do that actually and bring in the CIA Gateway Process report. Are you familiar with that report?
No.
Okay, well, I believe that we all should really be aware of it because for 20 years, human beings were tested and subjected to extremes in order to test human limits. And
Oh yes, I think I've heard about that experiment. Yeah, and it has been done in Montreal and Canada.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I understand what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. So I'd really like to bring in talk about the Akashic records, the field of consciousness, and really talk about it in terms of the CIA Gateway Process report that talks about the center point between the white and black holes of consciousness. And then it also talks about the left and right hemispheres and hemisync and the need to bring them into balance and that unification and unified field within our own selves. So we'll talk about that another time because, as Francois said, tonight is not the night for that. But for now, we will be getting to Chapter 6, The Strengthening of the Aura. The thrust for a purpose envisioned by Master Almoira should be brought to bear not only upon the activities of the Brotherhood, mutually coordinated on earth and in heaven, but also upon the life of each and every student. One of the first exercises I wish, therefore, to give to the students for the strengthening of the aura involves a threefold action. The student begins by visualizing the threefold flame expanding from within the secret chamber of his heart. He then seals himself and his consciousness in a globe of white fire, and when he is set, he proceeds to recite the following words with utter humility and devotion. I am light, glowing light, radiating light, intensified light. God consumes my darkness, transmuting it into light. This day, I am a focus of the central sun. Flowing through me is a crystal river, a living fountain of light that can never be qualified by human thought and feeling. I am an outpost of the divine. Such darkness as has used me is swallowed up by the mighty river of light which I am. I am light. I live in light. I am light's fullest dimension. I am light's purest intention. I am light, flooding the world everywhere I move, blessing, strengthening, and conveying the purpose of the kingdom of heaven. I am light, glowing light, radiating light, intensified light. God consumes my darkness, transmuting it into light. This day I am a focus of the central sun. Flowing through me is a crystal river, a living fountain of light that can never be qualified by human thought and feeling. I am an outpost of the divine. Such darkness as has used me is swallowed up by the mighty river of light which I am. I am light. I live in light. I am light's fullest dimension. I am light's purest intention. I am light, flooding the world everywhere I move, blessing, strengthening, and conveying the purpose of the kingdom of heaven. I am light, glowing light, radiating light, intensified light. God consumes my darkness, transmuting it into light. This day I am a focus of the central sun, flowing through me as a crystal river of living fountain of light that can never be qualified by human thought and feeling. I am an outpost of the divine, such darkness as has used me is swallowed up by the mighty river of light which I am. I am light. I live, I live, I live in light. I am light's fullest dimension. I am light's purest intention. I am light, 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 flooding the world everywhere I move, blessing, strengthening, and conveying the purpose of the kingdom of heaven. As you visualize the cosmic white radiance around yourself, do not be concerned with the errors in your thought that through the years may have intruded themselves upon your consciousness. Do not allow yourself to concentrate upon any negative quality or condition. Do not let your attention rest upon supposed imperfections. Instead, see what the light can do for you. See how even your physical form can change, how a strengthening of the bonds of your health can occur in body, mind, and spirit. Try this exercise, simple though it may seem, and know that many ascended beings will be performing it with you. So many times adults fear to be thought childlike. They would rather appear to be worldly wise and sophisticated. If they only knew that they were running from deep seated fears and insecurities that they have buried beneath the clamor of social doings. Surely, with all they know about the physical universe, their environment, and the patterns of the mind, they must be able to reveal how great they really are. But, dear hearts, what a shock some men and women are in for when they shall come face to face with the blazing truth of reality and realize that so much of what they have learned must be unlearned, and that what they have thought to be their own greatness must be sacrificed upon the altar of the true greatness of the Christ self. Then perhaps they will compare that which they do not yet know with that which they do know, and they will see how very lacking in luster they are in the eyes of the cosmic hierarchy. It is not needful to impress the masters with any quality you may have. Heaven knows exactly what you are, above and below. Heaven already knows that you were made in God's image and likeness. If you return to that image in a simple, sweet, and childlike manner, I can promise you that heaven will not allow you an overabundance of time in which to function in the domain of the child, but it will elevate you into the consciousness of a mature son or daughter of God. While you maintain the attitude of the child, you will be able to do something for yourself that will be both valuable and valid. You will be able to loose the ties that bind you to your egocentricities until at last the little bird of the soul shall flit into the heavens and behold the glory of the eternal sun. We in our brotherhood of the golden robe are devoted to the freeing of those who are yet immersed in the vain aspects of the human consciousness, that they may develop spiritually, free at last to express the purposes of life as God intends them to do, is our prayer. Many think it would be so nice if God would speak the word and suddenly, as with the rushing of a mighty wind, all could speak the heavenly language. Men forget the karmic patterns that others have carelessly woven and even the patterns that they themselves have woven. They forget that these are the self made prison walls that keep them from discovering the delights of heaven and from becoming gods among men. They do not understand that this planet is a schoolroom and that in these latter days many have permitted their consciousness to grow dark, even while knowledge seems increased across the land. The knowledge that is important is the knowledge whereby man becomes first the master of his own consciousness and then the master of his world. Whereas, in a relative sense, one man may attain greater mastery than another in the manipulation of energy within a finite circle. This in no way guarantees that the big frog in the little pond will be able to navigate in the circle of the infinite. We are concerned with the measure of man's advancement according to the divine precepts of the brotherhood, which have been established under the guidance of the eternal Father from the beginning. We are interested not in generation, but in regeneration. Now, I am well aware that for some of our readers, it is even a new idea that their thoughts can impinge upon others, or that the thoughts of others can influence their own moods and manner of life. Nevertheless, it is so. The wise will therefore seek scientific methods of dealing with the problems of auric influences and thought penetration. If everyone knew how to use the tube of light and the violet consuming flame and believed in this method of self transformation, I am certain that the world would be a different place. The dissemination of such practical knowledge is invaluable when it is applied by those who receive it. Hence, I urge those disciples who have been calling for more light to be alert to properly use that which we shall release as they practice the aforementioned exercise. So many misalignments in the human aura, so many nodules of dark and shadowed substance continually spew out their pollutants into the mainstream of man's energy, sapping his strength and weakening the entire manifestation of his life, that there is a great need for the flushing out of darkness by a bubbling action of the light. Naturally, I am concerned that we first clear up these centers of shadow, the shadow of misqualification that is within man, before we energize the consciousness of our students. This problem sometimes presents a moot point, for those who pray often, who decree much, who love much, who involve themselves with the whole repertoire of the mantras of our brotherhood, seldom realize that as they gain in the power aspect of God, or even the love aspect of God, that they also need the holy wisdom that shall direct their proper use of their fort of energy. To misuse energy to send out enormous power into the world like billowing storm clouds is not the fulfillment of the divine intent. Energy should be directed as the perfect day coming from heaven into the lives of all it contacts. Let radiant blue skies and golden drops of sunlight pour through the foliage of man's consciousness, increasing the green, the beauty, and the color of the day of perfection in all men's thoughts. May I chasten some by pointing out that sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly, you are using the energy of God to further your own moods and feelings in the world of form. Try God's way, the way of perfection. For just as the Christ consciousness is the mediator between God and man, so man can become a joint mediator with Christ. And inasmuch as he does what he wills with the energy God gives him, he controls, in a relative sense, in the world of form, a portion of the divine energy for the entire planet. When he realizes this, the whole foundation of his life can be altered if he wills it so. This thought is injected as a direct quote from a conversation I had with beloved Moira, and I trust that the students will take it to heart. What a wonderful opportunity lies before you as a gift from God as you correctly use his energy. Why, you can literally mold yourself and the whole world in the divine image. The potential for goodness lying within man is wondrous indeed. And as he learns how to properly extend and guard his auric emanations, he will realize more and more of that potential. We shall do our part to make known the wondrous kingdom of heaven to as many as we possibly can. Will you help us reach out in God's name as his hands and feet to lovingly become more and more the manifestations of the grace of God? The auric cloud glows, the auric cloud grows. The beauty of the kingdom of heaven solidifies in man as he gains a greater understanding of his own real nature. I remain serenely in the light of purpose.
So I cannot show you on a screen the this call that we give when we hear a master giving his message. Each chapter of this book and the four pillars and many others, dictation, what we call dictation. It's in reality a message of light coming from the world of perfection. So I can read it to you if you want, and then I will. This time I'm promising that tonight you will receive it by email, so you will be able to share it for the next meetings. Okay.
Thank you.
So
and also, just it's not on you, but I appreciate you because I could have found this and you have it, so I'm kind of leaving it to you because I appreciate it that you're willing to send that over my way. So I'm just saying thank you for being willing to put the onus on you to get it to me after tonight, and I am just taking the onus for not having had it prior to now, but I keep forgetting, so it's just this part of my consciousness that is just it keeps escaping me from sharing it, so until this moment.
whatever the reason, if I have it, so it's my responsibility to share it with you. So now you will have it for the next meeting. So let's say that tonight is the perfect time to have it. So for everyone who is listening, after each chapter or after one of the what we call a dictation of the masters, we make this call. So because we know that we have in our human consciousness, we cannot read or understand everything that is being given to us from the realm of light. So we make this call so we can attune with the master in a much inner spiritual way, so he can touch us with his higher light and higher consciousness. So this prayer is just a very simple one. We just say, in the name of the beloved Lord Maitreya, El Morya, beloved Guruma, we ask and command that our presence and the beloved Kuthumi, who is the masters who have given us his light message, to lower into our heart center your momentum of light and the energy of the dictation that we have just read, in order to transmute a corresponding portion of our human consciousness and human creation. Absorb our human consciousness and return it to us requalified and purified. Pass the flame of your higher consciousness through the density and the debris of our lower consciousness. Take in the energy of our microscopic consciousness to your heart's altar, consume, transmute it, and return to us the purified substance, the original innocence that is our higher consciousness.
Amen. Thank you.
It's a wonderful prayer, isn't it?
Beautiful. Love it.
So what we have read will just continue to work in the inner plane of our being. So it's just like we have opened a book and then the book is continuing to be read inside of us. And we are grabbing everything that we can by this prayer. Kuthumi is making the work in the inner plane.
It's kind of like gaining access to another tool when you're mining a diamond mine. And it's like you go into the diamond mine and you chunk off a lot of rock and rubble and dirt and debris, and you put it into that cart, and then you push the cart out, and then you go through and you tip it over because you get frustrated and you give up on it for a while. But then it's like you gain access to water, and then you find out that the water helps in separating and sifting the sand, and then it's just like you gain access to other materials and chemicals that help you break down other substances that are in it, and then you start finding the gold and the other minerals.
It gives us I would say a better way of entering deeper into the contact and the consciousness of the masters.
Yeah.
And the light he is bringing us. Yep.
Well, it's like they say, you never see it from the same perspective, because once you've actually been exposed to information, then you have that information in your awareness. Even if you're not consciously aware of it, it's in your subconscious, like as a file in the filing cabinet of all of your BS or belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
That make up who you think yourself to be and the world to be and all of it. And that's all just files in the computer system of you that ultimately are stored with familiar files of information. And so the more files of information that we can get in there that are going to support us, then the better. And the more the call actually helps us unlock information that we were not privy to before we actually were willing to up the amount of light that our body can contain, which is what they were talking about the shadows. It's like there's no point in amplifying somebody's energy if they're loaded with shadow, so then it's actually the shadow that's going to be amplified. Like you have to get rid of a lot of that ego and the covering between you and your direct connection, or else you're going to start feeding off of your environment and the people that are in it because you're no longer feeling directly connected.
So by this prayer and this call, it's very short. You can learn it or do it, make it, create it your own prayer. But the idea is that the more you are connected with the masters who is giving us his light and his message, then the more we are not alone to do the work of absorbing. So we are working in connection is with the masters, and he is helping us. And because we are open, so it make it easier to understand, have a better understanding from the heart perspective.
I like it because it also reminds me of one of the texts that I remember reading about Jesus Christ and his life, and it being an example of what is possible for us as well. This you too can do and more, if only we are willing to hold the vision and hold the image, and to actually see it in our mind's eye first, and then bring it to bear by actually putting our energy behind that which we see in our inner mind that no one else can, and we have to be willing to hold strong to long enough for us to actually bring into fruition.
Yeah, so this prayer give us access to this possibility.
Even more possibilities. Yes.
Yeah, for more possibilities.
And we can share this after every prayer. So we're gonna, or after every prayer. Well, you can consider it a chapter of prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Each chapter is just a prayer. And what if then we kind of broke that down into each day as a prayer? Each moment is a prayer.
Yeah. Each day is bringing us closer to our goal of returning home in heaven. This is our home. So a great philosopher said that we are not human beings trying to become spiritual. We are spiritual beings making the experiment of living in matter. So that's why we are attracted to something that bring us higher in spirit, because this is our natural being of being spiritual, because the source is life, life is love, and love is God. So this is our spirit, I would say not spiritual nature, but this is the nature of our being. We are spiritual beings making an experiment on earth, but we are making experiment for many, many, many lives. So that brings us to reincarnation and karma, but it's not the point for tonight. But anyway.
But even the fact that reincarnation and karma is a laughable, I've got so much information to share that it's not for tonight as a topic kind of thing, is huge. And a lot of people don't know that this information is available, Francoise.
It's a concept so precious that gives us the perspective we need and is lacking for people today, the concept of reincarnation and karma. And we are all in this. If we are on earth, it's because we needed reincarnation to learn our lessons of love and wisdom.
Well, I'm learning about love, wisdom, and power, which are the three plumes of the threefold flame that burns within the sacred chamber of the heart, in behind the heart chakra. And so if we are able to really just get more of this information, we will continue feeding that fire and growing the passion that helps us stand with conviction for the freedom that each of us have come here to maintain for the sake of the ones that come after us. Because, the forefathers and mothers that came before us, the ascended masters that are both acknowledged and not celebrated, all of those who came before us, they went through their own spiritual quest that we now are going through. And the only difference is that we haven't finished writing our story yet.
Yeah. And they have left off a path a path to follow with a lot of direction, and so we can follow them and go to the same place where they have gone. That means reunification with God in our heart, mind, and soul and spirit.
Full alignment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the path. That's the everyday job we have.
I love that. Alignment is the job that each of us have every day to get back
Yeah.
in alignment.
Every day we can make a step further toward the goal to go back home.
Moment and momentum. There is a significant reason why the two are not one, but they are comparable nonetheless. So it has been an absolute pleasure to share this time with you tonight in the third reading of a chapter or two within The Human Aura by Kuthumi. So we thank you for watching tonight, listening, and leaving a comment below to let us know what questions you would have asked. What would you have shared? What would you like to say? If it's just even, hey, do it. We want to know because you matter. And we want you to know that you're seen. And we want you to know that we have prepared this experience for you because you deserve access to the best. And we've been looking for the best, found access to the best through the teachings of the Ascended Masters, the ones who came before us to leave us the guideposts that help us actually get to the highest peak that we can with all of what we have done in past lives and then in this one too. So it's all brought you here now. If you're here, let us know. We want to know. You have a good night and we say thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I just stopped streaming over to Facebook, but yeah, way to go.
Good. Fine.
Do you want to see if there were any comments? I should have looked beforehand. On the human, 1 share, 4 views. No, see the problem. Are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Are we connected?
I don't think so.
Oh, can you find me? And then if you find me, then I can actually share. I can tag you in this.
Okay.
Because it was already streamed, and then if you tag me or if you add me, then I'll be able to tag you in future. Because right now I'm getting shadow banned because my messages, like I'm sharing, I'm doing a lot of good stuff, so I'm getting shadow banned, which means a lot of people are not seeing my stuff because they won't show it to them. So if you are not as censored, it would be beneficial if you would be willing to share it, because then all of your people will see it and they're already familiar with you. So then they'll like the message because you're in it.
Okay. So I should try to find you on Facebook.
My name is the same as what's here. It's what I always go by.
Laura
J.E.
J.E. Hamilton. Okay, I'll try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you'll do that, Francoise, that would be awesome. And then I'll be able to start tagging you in more things. And then as we get more of an organic marketing campaign kicking off as well with the QTAC stuff, then at least we'll be connected and it'll be easier that way. And
okay.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Oh.
I'm sending you by email the prayer.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I think to be honest, I think I have it somewhere. I just don't know where it is. So
that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you're not obliged to have everything. So somebody can just
appreciate you.
Share.
Thank you. Love it. Okay. Well, I appreciate you for showing up. Truly, it does make all the difference. So I don't feel like I'm just reading on my own. It looks way better. And I hope you're getting value from the experience as well.
Yes, of course.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
You. Good night.